Domino's is texting me to let me know that there's a free dessert tonight.
Why do you have a Domino's app?
Because in the past, when I've had to pick up pizzas for the theater or for our daughter, they text you.
Oh.
And that's convenient. But yeah, free dessert tonight.
Well, I wanted to ask you a question. Have you heard about these people who are carnivores?
Carnivore.
Yeah, they eat carnivore. They don't eat carnivores. They are carnivores.
I was just going to ask if they... I've heard of him. There's this guy who keeps coming up on my feed. He's got a really thick Southern accent, and he claims to be some sort of a doctor.
Yeah, he's the guy with the finger. he
Yeah,
holds up.
exactly.
That's Dr. Strawberry or Blackberry or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't probably listen to him. I clicked on one of his videos once, and he recommends eating meat to people with type 2 diabetes.
What?
Yeah. And I just saw a Harvard story that meat causes diabetes
Well, of course it does.
because it's full of saturated fat.
Bad saturated fats.
And yet YouTube allows him, they give him this platform to tell all these poor people with type 2 diabetes to eat meat. He's just going to make them worse.
Right.
He says, they go off of their insulin and stuff, but if you have type 2 diabetes, you can't be going off your insulin.
All right. Hypothetically speaking, let's say you can get off your insulin. What about fiber? I mean, there is no fiber in meat, right?
No, they must have mucilix or something.
Really?
But no, that's made out of plants.
Yeah.
So they can't have mucilix.
They can't have mucilix.
Can you imagine not having any fiber at all?
How would you go do the deuce? Do the do.
I guess it's the question that is on everybody's mind. But I think the research is pretty clear that having fiber is important to avoid colon cancer, right?
Well, yeah, and you need to go 5 times a day to avoid to know you're healthy
Right, yeah.
and not have colon cancer.
And I've read that eating lots of fiber reduces absorption of cholesterol from your diet.
Well, sure.
So, and that's important too.
Yeah.
But I mean, cholesterol on carnivore.
Well, and
I mean, come on. They eat, if you've seen them on TikTok or something, they eat these giant steaks on cutting boards. They don't trim the fat off. They make like this big point. Like they're going to eat that giant blob of fat.
speaking of giants, not only that fat, have you seen that giant doctor? He's huge.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
Baker. He's like in Australia or something.
Oh, yeah.
Wheat shake.
Coffee.
Coffee?
Chaffee.
Chaffee. Dr. Chaffee.
But he's not Australian.
He's not. No.
He hated America, and so he left for Australia.
But the reason I bring him up is his woman just eats butter. Have you seen that?
No.
Yeah.
Just like a stick of butter.
Yeah. I've seen his woman and this other woman just eating butter.
That's gross.
Well, and can you imagine the issue? Their arteries
on.
are clogging immediately.
I need to ask chat something.
Okay.
Because, just think about this. How many calories are in one stick of butter?
Could you clarify which type of stick you're referring to? Are you asking about butter, cheese, or something else?
I'm asking about butter.
One stick of butter, which is typically 4 ounces or 113 grams, contains around 810 calories.
Well, aren't you only supposed to eat about 1,200 calories a day? For a woman, you're probably 15.
800 calories of fat.
Of fat. Chat did not even understand your question.
Chat was like, he can't be asking about how many calories are in a stick of butter.
Like, do you mean celery or a carrot stick? Like, what?
String cheese. Well, when you talked about Dr. Baker, he's like 6'9" or something.
He's a giant too.
He was on Joe Rogan, and I heard part of it, but when I heard that it was all about carnivore, I was like, well, that's not science, so I'm not going to even bother listening to it. But his name is Baker. What guy named Baker is going to be a carnivore? It makes no sense at all. I mean, the irony of that, right?
Him and Dr. Strawberry.
Yeah, him and Dr. Strawberry. Well, there's another one, Saladino. And his name's Salad.
Salad?
That's like Italian for salad. And he was all about that.
It's like, hello, the universe is trying to tell you guys something.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's about the healthy whole grains, Dr. Baker, and Dr. Berry, Dr. Saladino.
Yeah.
We gotta eat the rainbow
Just
here.
look at your name and eat that way. Your name isn't Dr. Meat. It's not Dr. Ribeye. It's not Dr. Bacon. Although if Kevin Bacon,
Oh, wait.
if someone in his family became a doctor, should they eat bacon? No.
No.
Bacon's full of nitrates and nitrites, which give you colon cancer.
We're back to the colon cancer.
So those are completely off. Plus tons of fat. I mean, a slice of bacon is almost all fat.
So carnivore equals diabetes,
Yeah.
colon cancer, heart disease is what I'm hearing.
How could it be anything else?
It can't be.
These people who are doing this are, I mean, you want to say they're spinning the roulette wheel, hoping that they escape with, and live a normal life. But I don't think it's like that. It's not even Russian roulette. They're basically just doing everything wrong. It's not even a gamble. They're all going to come down with diabetes, cancer, heart disease, Alzheimer's, because the saturated fat alone is a risk factor for every single one of those things. And every one of the big studies, the people who eat the most meat have the shortest lifespan.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yet they're doing it against all of the expert dietitian advice that's out there.
You would think they would know better, especially in this day and age.
Yeah.
With so much information out there.
Well, now I'm curious. Have you heard of the so-called carnivore diet?
Yes, I'm familiar with the carnivore diet. It's a way of eating that focuses on consuming animal products exclusively, such as meat, fish, eggs, and sometimes dairy, while avoiding all plant-based foods. Proponents of the diet claim benefits like weight loss, improved mental clarity, and reduced inflammation, though it's a subject of ongoing debate in the nutrition community.
So, well, we know why they're losing weight. If you're just eating meat, you're just eating fewer calories.
Yeah, you're practically starving
Yeah.
yourself.
And then the inflammation thing, well, if you lose weight, yeah, in the short term, I think your inflammation would go down.
But long term, again, those arteries are just going to be, they're going to become completely solid, inflamed and solid.
Yeah, I saw a thing. There's some guy, I want to say his name is Fieldman on YouTube, and he says that a bunch of people
Feel bad.
people who eat this way did like heart studies to look for their clogged arteries. And he says that like 80 of them did it and they didn't have even any worse clogging than normal regular people. But it was only 84 people and they'd only been eating that way for like 4 years.
Oh yeah.
But all these carnivores were like, "Oh, see, we're all this. It has nothing to do with it. All the saturated fat isn't important. The LDL, it doesn't matter." And they're doing, 84 people for 4 years. It's like that's like no information at all.
At all. Yeah.
So, talk to me when you've done 1 million people for 100 years. Talk to me then, because I'm not interested in your 84 people for 4 years because that's not data.
Not
That's just, and honestly, this guy's like an advocate for eating like this. And what result do we think he's going to come up with?
Exactly. I mean, clearly those studies totally biased.
Yeah. If it had come from a reputable place like Harvard or one of the, the place that had the funding to do it, like a major pharmaceutical company, you'd know that it was done in a scientifically rigorous way.
Right.
The data was analyzed by people who understood statistics, who understood the physiology and how the calcification of arteries works. Not these yahoos are just out there on the internet just making stuff up.
With anecdotes too, like, oh, my friend did this, my friend did that. Like, that's not science.
That's not science at all. And if you believe that people are having these miraculous results in the face of everything we know about how we're supposed to eat, I don't know what to say to you. You're probably pretty much hopelessly lost. And, they're eating these poor cows.
Oh my gosh, don't even get me started on
And
the
it's
cows.
tough because I feel bad for these cows, but the truth is we need way less cows.
Way fewer cows. Do you know how many cows there are here in Wisconsin alone?
Oh, I never counted.
A lot of cows.
Because you couldn't possibly count. They're everywhere. They're not loose. But they're everywhere. Now, these are dairy cows for the most
Mostly.
part. Not all of them, but we know what the problem with the cows is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sad that we need to eliminate them. But we need to let the ones who are alive live out their natural life and then not, keep boosting the population so that these
Humans. Carnivores.
these gym bros with the muscles and crap can have these giant stacks of ribeyes on their cutting boards just so they can make TikTok. And I don't believe for an instant that those guys are eating like that. I mean, you talked about Dr. Coffee and Dr. Baker.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys aren't just eating meat.
Oh, come on. They are not just eating meat.
You can't do that. You can't look like that unless you're having whey shakes probably 3 or 4 times a day.
At least.
Because how are they going to get enough protein?
Right. There's no way.
And they're definitely eating broccoli and chicken breast for most of their meals because that's how you have to do it to be in that shape. And it's tough. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from, well, obviously they're on steroids. But
Well, yeah, we weren't going to say that, but you knew.
But I don't want to
you
take
could read between
anything
the
away
lines.
from the accomplishment because you do have to actually lift the weights. And that big Dr. Baker, he is on TikTok or whatever doing workouts, for a 30-second clip. But he eats those giant steaks and then, he turns off the camera and then he probably goes and gets the broccoli and the celery out of the refrigerator.
Well, and these women, like Dr. Coffee's woman,
Yeah.
I don't know her name, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, and Dr. Strawberry's wife, and we've got
Butter
Girl. Like, clearly they are using an Instagram filter.
Oh,
They're right? These guys
Yeah.
are doing their stuff when the camera's off. These women, there's no way they can be that beautiful and glowy all the time.
I mean, come on. We know it's Ozempic.
Well, you have a point. Yeah.
I mean, we've seen with Kelly Clarkson and Oprah and many others, they try to convince people that it's this meat diet, but they're doing something over here on the side.
Over on the side.
That's got to be what it is.
Clearly.
Because there's no way that following an extreme diet, eating all of that fat is going to have that result.
All that fat and so much restriction. Don't tell me they aren't like pulling out the Ben & Jerry. If they tried to eat that way, they would be pulling out the Ben & Jerry's at night.
You would have to.
You'd have to.
Because your body needs carbohydrates for your brain to function.
Right.
And that's just science. That's indisputable. That's not even in question. It's like LDL causes heart disease. These aren't things that are open for debate.
No.
It is the case. And these people putting out this crazy viewpoint, I don't know. It just seems really suspicious to me.
I just hope that their message gets squashed and that it doesn't infect a younger generation.
Yeah. Because they're trying to keep people from taking statins. They're telling people maybe a statin isn't a good idea.
Wait, the carnivores are?
Yeah. And we're seeing that kids have high cholesterol and they need that statin in order to bring it down. Because think about how long it takes for heart disease to develop. If you don't start those kids with high cholesterol when they're 12, 13, by the time they're 30, they may actually have heart disease. And the same thing with the type 2 diabetes is this idea that it can be reversed is really, really damaging.
Ridiculous.
And people need to be tracking their blood sugars. They need to be making sure they're getting healthy whole grains and lots of veggies and following the recommendations of the American Diabetes Association. And I don't have diabetes, but I know people who do. And there are some fantastic dessert options for people with diabetes.
Yeah.
That, desserts that only have 30, 40, 50 grams of sugar in them per serving. And I just think that this idea that you're going to forego living your life because you have diabetes is ridiculous.
Well, and I think that the recommendation, the daily recommendation for sugar for kids even is like up to 4 or 6 teaspoons or tablespoons a day. I can't remember, but like there's a recommended allowance for sugar.
Yeah.
And so we should all be allowed to eat our sugar.
Well,
Keep it in
obviously in
boundaries.
moderation because you can cause cavities.
Yeah.
And it can contribute to weight gain. But the sugar isn't the problem.
No.
The sugar is one of those delights of life. And if you're not overdoing it every day, it's fine. It's perfectly safe. The body has a pancreas for a reason.
For a reason.
To create insulin, to be able to convert that to the energy that we use.
And if your insulin isn't working right, there's a little thing that can help with that.
There's metformin, there's insulin injections, there's all kinds of diabetes drugs that.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the biggest companies in the world have worked to develop these things, and they didn't do it because nobody needed it. People need these things. And it's just a shame that we're ceding scientific education to the internet now, and people are just getting wrong information.
Totally wrong.
And they're doing these extreme things. And, I don't really think that everybody needs to go vegan, but it's obvious that if you are super worried about your health, you were worried about heart disease or cancer or something, vegetarian or vegan is obviously the way to go. That's what's supported by science, not this eating meat until you can't possibly stuff another bite of bacon down.
And if you want that meat flavor, you can get that with like an Impossible Burger.
Exactly. And
so why would you even use a cow?
Made out of soybeans and things like that.
Right.
Which are way better for the environment. And I also heard one guy talking about how you shouldn't have canola oil and any soybean oil, no flaxseed oil, which is like known to be really full of omega-3s.
Yeah.
And all of these oils are shown to reduce LDL. And there's like, don't consume those. It doesn't make any sense.
No.
We have this a miracle of industrialized food production that no one is starving. People have excess calories, and this viewpoint wants to do away with all of that and everybody just eat meat. And it just doesn't even look practical to me.
It's not practical and it's not healthy. Hope you aren't falling for the message of these carnivore doctors.
Right. And if you have tried this and you've perceived you've had some benefits, then, Google placebo effect. Come on.
Yeah.
You know that this extreme diet is not what's working. Mm-mm. It's not going to be sustainable anyway. And you're just not, vitamin C.
Need we say more?
Yeah.
Vitamin C.